It's tabletop time! I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen. In today's video, I'm going to be converting a Sister of Battle into chaos.
That's right, I've finally managed to successfully corrupt Jen and lead her down the path of damnation.
Hooray! So let's get started.
Something I really like to do in most of my videos is plan everything out in Photoshop. So I grabbed a couple of images of our chaos sister, Mirael Sabathiel. I can't say her name. A lot of the...
Mirael Sabathiel?
Yep, Dave's got it in one. There you go. Anyway, I put all the images into Photoshop and arranged them nice and neatly, as well as the model I would be using, which was the Canoness. Once everything was ready to go, I grabbed a couple of images I wanted to overlay over the top with the changes I wanted to make. The first being her head, which I thought was a little bulky and a bit weird, so I wanted to grab a Sisters of Battle generic head, maybe one that looked like they were scowling or a bit angry. The hardest part of this conversion would be her arms. Now, the original model has them posed quite close to her body. I needed to be able to remove these and add on some extra features, keeping in mind the overall silhouette that I wanted to create to make sure it looked like a dynamic piece. I wanted to include a chainsaw in a bolter in her model somewhere, so I'd have to go around rearranging these and seeing what would work. The last thing I wanted to include was a banner, just to kind of make the top part of her silhouette look more bulked out. With everything into place, I lazily began sketching everything out just to make it look like a more cohesive piece, and that I had a general idea of where I wanted everything to sit and lay. So with the image all drawn up, I was pretty happy and ready to move on to actually making my sister. As I mentioned before, the model that I picked for this conversion was this old school Canoness. Now, I don't actually know when she came out. Do you have any idea, Dave?
The model release? I think it was about 5 years ago? Maybe 7 years ago, because time is getting faster and faster the older I get.
The other thing to note is that this model was actually made out of resin, which for me was perfect. This thing was slicing up like absolute butter, which meant that converting would be a lot easier.
So Canoness Viridian, this one was actually a John Blanche artwork that was the very first Sisters of Battle Codex cover. So this, I believe, was in 2nd edition when the sisters first hit the tables. And yeah, this was the character depicted on the cover that never actually had a model. I believe in the build-up to the release of the Plastic Sisters range, they released this model as a bit of a celebration of their history.
Explains why she has skulls on her chest, which is a very nice touch.
So I'm cutting out my Canoness, and I've noticed there's a few things I want to make some changes to that we've already seen before that I did in Photoshop. Now, I'm going to have to cut out her head, which is pretty intimidating because it's pretty well fused onto her suit, but I really want to change it to a proper Sisters of Battle head. There's a couple of other things I wanted to change as well, including her arms. I'd like for her to be holding a chainsaw in one arm and maybe a bolter in the other. And I'd love for her to have a bunch more skulls on her base. She's got like 1 or 2, but I really want to add some more. So I've got a bunch of skulls here. That's from Games Workshop that just got every type of skull you could imagine. Perfect. They will be a great use. I also have some of Dave's really old Chaos Space Marines as well. I can see a chainsaw here already that would be pretty much perfect, barring cutting off the Space Marine arm and changing it to a sister's arm. And a couple of other things as well. And something else I noticed in this box is this really cool charm that's like to Slanesh, which is perfect for Mirael. So I might try and incorporate that, I might not. I do have a banner to try and make as well. I did rummage around my sister parts and see what I could find. I think I found some of the heads that I can use for this model, which is super, super tiny. But yeah, they're both basically screaming sisters. They look pretty cool. One is definitely looks more scarier than the other, so I'll probably go with that one. There's a ton of conversion stuff I need to do and a little bit of green stuffing probably too. This time around, I do have some liquid green stuff, which I actually swear by this stuff way more than green stuff. I just find this is really good for gap filling. Let's get started because there is a ton of work to do.
So to start off my conversion process, I went ahead and grabbed a couple of Sisters of Battle heads. These were just a few I had lying around, and I picked the one with the scowl on her face because I thought that she looked perfect. Dave found this sprue of Blackstone Fortress characters that could work really well. There was one that was a female, so she had female arms that I could absolutely cut apart and use to my advantage.
Yeah, it was kind of sad in a weird way because this model was one you've been kind of angling to paint forever, this Death Maiden.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I wanted her in the Blackstone Fortress cube, and it's kind of good that we didn't include her because we all know how that ended.
Yeah, and now her arms live on forever in this Sister of Bloodle.
Sister of Bloodle. I love that. So using an old Chaos sprue I found that was originally Dave's, I found a chainsaw that I thought would work okay and a little tassel on the end because we can't forget about the Chaos tassels. Moving on to her other arm, I also decided to use the same piece from the original Blackstone Fortress kit. This time it was holding this head that I have no idea what the head is, but luckily enough this actually posed really well on the model. It's sort of resting on her leg and I think it creates a really cool silhouette. I also went ahead and glued all of the skulls onto her base just so that they were ready to dry and I could spray them up later. So moving on to the banner, trifling through all of our sprue bits, we couldn't really find a banner that would work. I did, however, have this Novitiates banner from the quilting box that I had made earlier. However, it did have a bunch of heraldry and some other stuff on it, so I had to carve all of it off. Dave also found this Chaos Star on top of this guy's staff, and I thought this could look really cool on the banner too, so I cut this off and put it on top and left it to dry. I absolutely loathe green stuff. After doing the Novitiates, I swore I would never touch this stuff again, but here I am trying to use it. And I decided in this project that I'm actually done with green stuff. I hate this. I can't use it. I can't model with it, but I did, however, find another solution.
But Jen, you just gotta practice.
Yeah, no, there's no practicing with this. I don't know if our green stuff is just not very nice, but yeah, I'm done. I decided to move over to liquid green stuff. Now, I'd used liquid green stuff a couple times before and I actually really like it. It reminds me of like that Tamiya modeling putty. It just has this consistency where I can shape it into any sort of form I like, but also dries relatively quick as well. But you do have to be careful because even the slightest touch can just change it completely. But I decided this would be the perfect material to try and make her pigtails out of.
I really like how the silhouette is starting to break up here. It's really coming along and starting to look quite different from the original model and getting pretty vicious.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy with this conversion. I think this is the first time, aside from the knight, I've done a model conversion, and I'm pretty happy.
So I am all done with my conversion. There she is, and I'm really happy with this. I think it turned out really well. It's all dried, and now we're moving on to spraying and doing some priming. So I'm gonna spray her Chaos Black, I think, and then put in some tones of some red and some purple, and then we'll get painting. Yay!
Spraying, I decided that I wanted to add in the red and purple tones that we could see in the original artwork. It was very chaosy and I thought it established where I needed to put my shadows and my highlights, keeping in with a purple and red overall theme for my paint job. When it comes to painting, I sort of paint the things that I think I like the most first. So I started with her face. I thought this was a really important area, so I wanted to focus a lot of attention onto her face and that beautiful Slaneshi looking tongue that I also had to sculpt and put onto this model, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks sick. Moving on from her face, I decided to start painting in her hair and also moving on to her cloth. I wanted to establish these colors and the color schemes I would be using just so I had them laid out ready to go. It was at this point I intervened with Dave and we decided to make some changes.
Okay, so I've reached a point in the project where I'm really happy with the painting, but now that I'm getting to the stage of painting, I've noticed there's a few things I'm not super happy with. A couple of changes, and this was a decision made by me and Dave as well. So we decided that she needed to be standing on more skulls. There's not nearly enough skulls on her base, so I'm gonna take her off and add a bunch more skulls. I think I'm gonna even add them around the rim just so it looks like the pile is like infinite. I think that could be really cool. And the chainsaw is just looking a little bit stubby and a little bit jank. I did use pieces from an old Chaos kit, so I have found stuff from Blackstone Fortress that I'm hoping will be good enough to make the chainsaw a little bit longer, a little bit thinner as well. But look, I'm really happy with the process and I'm really happy how this is turning out. I think she's gonna look sick, and I think I kind of have a feel for Chaos colors. Interesting. We'll see how this turns out.
While I thought that Jen's project had come along an awesome way, it was definitely a more is more situation with the skulls. Building that up and giving that real Fire Warrior cover art and Mountain of Skulls was really going to uplift it.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool.
It's also a consideration, the more we make models, the more we think about how the thumbnail is going to affect it. So there's always a little bit of YouTube creeping in and affecting our craft projects. And by accentuating that Mountain of Skulls, it's going to make for a much more striking silhouette on the tabletop and, more importantly, in that YouTube thumbnail.
The chain blade too, I think having it just a little bit slimmer and elongated really helped with sort of moving the eye around the model. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and the 25-year-old Chaos plastic chainswords look like crap, so the new ones are much nicer.
I agree. So with all the changes we had made to this model, it was time to start painting yet again. For painting round 2, I went ahead and started painting the skulls that were on the base. There were a lot of these bad boys and they were just sort of calling to me. I really wanted to paint them up nice and quickly, and I already knew the colors I wanted to use as well. I painted these using layers of different shades of purple and then went over the top with a really bright white dry brush. Having already established the colors that I was going to use for the model, I just went ahead and started painting her armor, keeping in with the black theme and also the references I had at the start of my journey.
I gotta say, I'm loving the like chalky look on the skulls. Traditionally, I was always raised skulls were like Ushabti bone with an Agrax Earthshade wash and a little bit of a Screaming Skull highlight. But I found, especially working with Murray and his application of color, the way I paint things like bones have completely changed. And I love that you've painted them differently here, capturing the ambient lighting, capturing a mood. After all, skulls are basically white, so it reflects the environment around them a lot. And it's just cool to see how much mood can be captured by moving away from that traditional like bone wash, bone highlight.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was absolutely going for atmosphere versus reality, I suppose. I also kind of wanted to keep in the back of my head that John Blanche art and sort of have a few nods to him in a way.
I overall feel like as this is coming together, it actually has the ambience as if she's on a demon world. It feels like she's on this horrible dark place in 40k, and that's reflected in the environment around her.
Moving on to the banner, I also used a couple of metallics I'd used in the model just to bring out some of those accentuated areas. Originally I wanted to keep this red because I thought the color would look really good behind the model. At this point in my painting process, I went ahead and just gave everything those extra crisp highlights. I also forgot to mention that she has spikes coming out of her chest area. Yeah, this was in the original drawing and it was in all of them, so there was no way I couldn't add these to the model. So I just wanted to disclaimer and then say that yes, I'm aware that they're here.
Hey, look, you think they're bad. Have you seen Magnus the Red's nipple horns? Come on, this is nothing. This is Warhammer. It's fine.
Chaos has a thing, I guess.
Chaos
Tassels.
loves big, sharp chest protrusions.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, tassels and chest protrusions. Love it. So not gonna lie, this banner gave me a little bit of grief. It was towards the end of the project and I feel like my creativity was running a little bit low. So originally I decided I wanted to put on the Slanesh symbol, and that didn't change at all, but I originally wanted to create this really beautiful piece, and doing a Google search, I had some inspiration onto what I wanted to create. But in the end, it just wasn't working, so I decided to go down a different path.
Going for a really nice, clean white banner. I like it.
Yeah, no, it turns into a flesh monstrosity. I decided I wanted this banner to look like flesh. So this was just the original color, and then I added in some reds to kind of give it that fleshiness.
It's really creative, Jen. I think it's really fun to see you embracing peeling flesh off things, and it's nice to see this darker side of you.
Thanks. I also added in the Slanesh symbol to make it look like it was carved into the human skin, giving it a darker color, more like blood or like dried, skin, I guess.
Was that beautiful artisanal design, was that created and crafted while the victim was still alive?
Oh, of course.
And while the skin was still on?
Yes, absolutely.
And then it was pulled off of the banner. Who might that sample of, that's a big piece of meat.
Maybe an Ogren or...
Just someone's back.
Yeah.
Just a big Space Marine's back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit torn at the side, so, it wasn't a clean cut, but it was pretty good.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I love Warhammer. Sweet.
Once I was done with the banner, all I needed to do was glue it onto the top of her backpack, and luckily enough, there was a little recess for me to do this perfectly. With everything glued into place and all dried and ready to go, it's time to see the final scary, chaosy results. a huge thank you to all of our Patreons. It's because of you guys we can make awesome videos like this one, and we do really appreciate your support.
You're all wonderful, and one of the highlights of our month is our monthly mini review. We love seeing your submissions as patrons, taking a look at them, giving you the advice, suggestions, or commentary you ask for, and basically just having a bit of a celebration of the hobby in the community.
There's also some other awesome perks you can get for joining up today, so if you'd like to sign up, all of the links are down in the description below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you have any ideas for other demons we could use to corrupt sisters, let us know in the comments below.
Show me this model. I haven't seen it. I actually haven't seen it.
Oh, haven't you? Oh.
That is really cool, Jen. Oh, Mirael Sabathiel, as I live and breathe.
Yeah.
The first Chaos sister.
I think something that's really interesting, I only just found out, is that when she turned to Chaos and she fled the sisters, the Canoness actually led the witch hunt to go find her. And this model is made out of the Canoness. It's kind of super morbid.
That's very cool. Well done for your first Chaos conversion, and I'm really proud of you for joining this coterie of people who like to cut models apart and glue them together in interesting ways.
Yeah, so join us in the next video when we melt this down, because it's Chaos and it needs to be purged.
Wait, you're not permanently joining the ranks of Chaos?
No.
That was just a one-off?
This was just because I was bored and just wanted something to do.
So what, I guess next time you're going to paint like those really cool sister nundums. You know, the nundums of battle, nundum wing?
That sounds amazing. Do
Nundum
you guys want to see some
yeah,
Nundum
it's the
wings?
sisters robots with the, yeah.
Like and subscribe. See you next time. Here you go. Happy birthday.
Damn, that tongue though.